Hi there, my name is Erica Ely, and I'm the Assistant Director for Career Education and Exposure in the University of Maryland's University Career Center. The purpose of this video is for me to provide you with some quick tips and effective tips to make your resume stand out to future employers. When creating and enhancing your resume, it's important to reflect on what in the world are you even applying to with this resume. The resume that you submit for a part-time job, just to make a little extra cash, may look a little bit different than a resume you submit for an internship or opportunity within your intended career field. So before you begin, think, what am I applying to? Who will be reading my resume? And what do they care to know about me and my background? So say, for example, you're applying to a part-time job at a coffee shop. If they are requesting a resume, you will want to particularly highlight your past experiences in customer service. You know, you've worked maybe another retail job before, or you were a camp counselor, a camp counselor. However, if you are interested in research professionally, just as an example, and you're applying to your first lab experience outside of the classroom, that resume will most likely look a lot different. You might choose to highlight classes you've completed with labs and any other relevant experiences. Yes, your coffee shop employer won't need to know about your classes with labs, so you will and should have multiple versions of your resume. Now, keep in mind, when applying to those lab roles, you should still keep that part-time coffee shop employee position on your resume. More on that a little bit later. On the University Career Center website, we have a bunch of resume samples available that you should check out. Reviewing these samples will give you some insight on different resume formats and what they can look like. They'll also give you some tips on ways to describe your experiences and sample action verbs to help you too. So here are just some quick samples that you'll see on the University Career Center website. In a little bit, I will go through the sections of your resume, but before moving into that, I want to share about the importance in customizing your resume for each internship or job that you apply to. So according to JobScan, did you know that approximately 98% of future 500 companies use software known as an applicant tracking system, also known as ATS, to identify applicants who either appear qualified or unqualified for the available position? Only those who appear qualified will be moved to the recruiter or hiring manager. Smaller companies and organizations may not use this software, but it's still important to provide the employer some insight into the experiences you have that are most relevant to them based off of what they're describing in that job posting. So when updating your resume to apply to an opportunity, read through the internship or job description with high attention to detail. Highlight the key qualifications, the key experiences that you have prior experience in through either part-time jobs, internships, major class projects, student organization involvement, military experience, and so much more. You should then incorporate this language into your resume. All right, let's start to dive into the nitty-gritty details with resumes. In general, your font size should be between 10 and 12-point font. If you're a student who doesn't have much experience yet to put on your resume, go with the 12-point font option. If you're a student that's starting to spill onto a second page, maybe make your font size a little bit smaller to get it back onto one page. Margins can be between 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Same suggestions apply. Larger margins if you don't have many experiences listed on your resume. That's okay. You may get some conflicting guidance on whether or not to list high school on your resume. As a first-year student, it's okay to list high school. High school wasn't that long ago for you all. You just might not need to list everything that you did in high school anymore. Start to pick and choose what you want to share and highlight on your resume about yourself. This may include past internship experiences. In fact, I would highly, highly recommend keeping past internship experiences on your resume, even if they happened in high school. Some major leadership roles or other relevant experiences. If you were a member of a club and maybe just attended a few meetings, now might be the time to start taking those types of experiences off. On your resume, we'll list experiences in reverse chronological order within each section. More on that to come. Also keep a clean, consistent format, which is nice to see, and try to avoid excessive white space on your resume. So let's go through the different sections of your resume, starting with the heading. Include your name, obviously. It should be the largest font on the page, usually around 16-point font. Include your address or just your city and state is fine too. Include the phone number that's best to reach you, and also a professional email address. It can be a Gmail address if you prefer. It doesn't have to be your UMD email address. It just should be professional. Objective statements. Objective statements are not required on resumes. In fact, if you're submitting a cover letter with your resume, that's an entire page of content dedicated to the objective of why you're applying to that organization. If you choose to have an objective statement, though, it should be tailored and targeted to the internship or job in which you are applying. Be specific about the skills you would bring to that opportunity, and you can get some hints of what to mention in the job description for the position. Education section, this is where we talk about being a Maryland student. List University of Maryland, include both your degree and major. So for example, Bachelor of Science in Cell Biology and Molecular Genetics. Bachelor of Science is the degree. Cell Biology and Molecular Genetics is the major. You'll include your intended graduation month and year. So don't just list the month and year you started at Maryland with a dash to present. Focus on when you're graduating instead. If you have any minors, any concentrations, certifications, certificates, they may be listed here. Some students will choose to add scholarships or other honors, perhaps Dean's List in their education section. That's fine, go for it. Some other students might choose to have that in a separate section. Either is fine, it's completely up to you. Sometimes students will put living learning programs under their education section. Any education abroad experiences might go here. You can list your high school here if you want to, but you don't need to. You would maybe consider listing your high school if it was a special program for students that are interested in your career field. If you do list high school, just make sure that you're leading with your University of Maryland content. Remember, experiences go in reverse chronological order in each resume section. So the most recent at the top. So University of Maryland first, and then high school if you're choosing to include it. Technical skills will be dependent on what you're applying to and if this section is relevant. If you are a student applying to a research or lab experience, the employer will love to see relevant lab skills. These skills could be built through classroom lab experiences and also lead with the most relevant skills to the employer. If lab skills are not important to what you're applying to, then we don't need to have this section. Okay, the next section is a section or sections all about your experience. This can include part-time jobs, full-time jobs, internships, research experiences, relevant classroom projects. That's one that students miss a lot. Independent projects as well. Again, based on the position in which you are applying, think about the experiences that you've had that they'll be most interested in, regardless of whether or not you got paid. So regardless of whether or not you had to do the project in order to pass the class, you should still be incorporating relevant class projects in here because you still develop some transferable skill sets, right, that you could bring to that internship or to that job. So almost everything is experience and is up to you as the job candidate to give the employer and outsider to your life that insight. So when creating your resume, you can have a couple of sections to highlight your experiences. Doing this can help the employer quickly see the content that you want them to focus on first. Again, if you are applying to a research role, let's get all of your relevant research experiences up at the top. If you are applying to a social media internship, let's get all of your social media experience. Maybe you're the social media chair for your sorority. Let's get that to the top of your resume. And the way that we can do this is by creating different sections on our resume. So here's an example of a student focused on applying to research positions. Their first section after their education section is research experience, where they have all of their relevant research experiences listed in reverse chronological order. However, they still have some other experiences that they want the employer to know about. So they created an other experience section. Here you'll see a cashier role, which technically isn't relevant to research, but the student develops some important transferable skill sets such as customer service, problem solving, working on a team, and also balancing working part-time while also going to school full-time. So feel free to divide up the experiences in your section, in your resume as you see fit. You want to highlight your programming experiences, then after your education section, you should have a section that's called programming experience. Remember, you can highlight relevant class projects, independent projects, and work experience related to programming in that section, both paid and unpaid. You do not have to separate your resume sections out based off of whether or not you were paid. So for each experience you highlight on your resume, there are some key parts you need to have. You need to provide the name of the employer, your job title, the city and state of the experience, and the dates of when you did it. Lead each bullet point with a strong action verb. Experiences that are in the past should have a past tense action verb. Experiences you're still doing should have present tense action verbs. Anywhere where you can incorporate numbers, dollars, percentages, where you can quantify your experience is great. Have you ever been a camp counselor before? How many kids were you working with? Instead of just saying that you worked with kids, express that you oversaw a bunk of 20 children or more. It gives the employer a better understanding of the scope of your responsibility. Relevant projects are a piece that many students miss on their resumes. Again, just because you had to do the project in order to pass a class doesn't mean it isn't valuable to put on your resume. Pick and choose the projects that you put on your resume. You don't want to put everything you've done in the classroom. It should be a significant project that took a large portion of the semester, and it should be relevant to the field you're thinking about pursuing. To list a class project, you'll see here that the name of the class will kind of serve as your employer name. The name of the project almost serves as your job title. The dates of when you did the project and the location are included. Then your bullet points to give the employer that quality insight into what you accomplished. Remember to include personal projects too if they're relevant. Similar structure, the employer name is more personal project or independent project, you can call it. The name of the project is your job title, dates, location, and bullet points. Sometimes students think that work experiences that aren't relevant to their field should be left off of their resume. That simply isn't true. You're still developing transferable skill sets that are valuable to employers regardless of the field that you're pursuing. Now, do you need to lead with your server job because that's what pays the bills and you're currently in the job, even if you have more relevant class projects? No, you don't lead with the server job. That's why we talked about having different section titles to help differentiate your most relevant experiences with your most recent experiences. So how you talk about your experiences on your resume is important. For a server job, don't focus on putting in orders and cleaning up tables. Everyone knows that that is a part of the job. Focus more on the transferable skills, like that you were selected by management to train new employees. That shows leadership. That you provided quality customer service in a fast-paced environment. Employers love students that have that background. For any part-time jobs, you might want to talk about how you dedicated 10 hours of work per week, 15 hours of work per week, while maintaining a full-time student status to show that you were balancing both a part-time job and a full course load. If you are looking for additional resume content, we have a self-paced resume basics module that students can find on the University Career Center website, careers.umd.edu, under the resume section. It is a 20-minute self-paced online module that gives some more specifics, including some resume templates. You can also check out our YouTube channel where there are additional resume videos and some videos that go into more specifics for scientific resumes and also technical resumes. If after this video you're feeling inspired to update your resume according to the tips you received, by all means, please do so. After you've made edits to your resume from this video, meet with one of our peer career educators in the University Career Center virtually. They're available Mondays through Fridays. And you can sign up for a time slot on Careers for Terps. Careers for Terps is the University Career Center's online job and internship posting system. Did you know that we usually have about 2,000 internships and jobs listed on Careers for Terps at any given time? You should definitely check it out and go on to our website, careers.umd.edu. I hope you were able to get some quick tips to improve your resume for future applications. Be sure to check out our website for more resources, including internship searching tips, interviewing techniques, networking events that are coming up, and much, much more. Have a good one.